probably mention them again here in just a minute. Growing up in my neighborhood, there was two things that were important for a young boy. One of them was marble playing, and the other was baseball. Dad had developed for me a rink down in between the sidewalk and the street. There was an area for parking the cars. Well, he turned that into a marble rink. And so Dad was an excellent player himself. And in fact, nobody played with him because his thumb was so strong he would break their shooters. And so when he was going to play, they put away their shooters and put their worst marble out there. So Dad helped me there, and also later when I began being active in baseball, he built a mound for me in the backyard, and he was my catcher. And he went down to the playground and stole the home plate for me and put that there. So we had a wire fence in back of him, which a lot of the balls that I threw were wild and got back by him, but he was always there. Okay, I'll tell you about my first job. I loved baseball, and I loved to throw the ball, and I loved to find out how to spin it and make it curve and drop and all those things. And wasn't interested in throwing hard; just wanted to be able to curve that thing. And I got pretty proficient at that. And so my first job was on the scoreboard, City Island Ballpark. My friend who was giving up the job says, "If you want the job, you can have it." So I was 13, and so I took the job. It was $1 a night, big time, and I would sit on all the numbers, and I'd watch the ball game, see if I can keep up with how many scores were made. Then I'd take the number out of the box and go down there and hang the thing up. And my worst nightmare is when I would hear over the loudspeaker, 350 yards away, "Attention, scoreboard." It was a 3, not a 2. It was inning number 4. I worked for Johnny Vandermeer, and most of you won't know Johnny Vandermeer, but he still holds the record for 2 consecutive no-hit games. He pitched for Cincinnati. And so later my uncle, who was a policeman, got me a job as a batting practice pitcher. And I remember Vandermeer telling me, "If you hit any of my players, I'm not going to protect you." So I knew even at 13 I better get serious in a hurry. Because I was in the dugout so often, I became a real student of the game of baseball. My best friend's dad was the groundskeeper at Indianville in Daytona, where all the Cleveland group trained. And so I get back to the truck, and once I got in the gate, I can go wherever I wanted to go. So I would go and listen to all the major league coaches, and I would learn. I would sit there and just learn. So that was the start of a very long relationship with the game of baseball, which didn't end for another 30 years, just about. Let's see. In my playing career, I played for the Seabreeze Sand Crabs. Now, if you know what a sand crab is, it's a real fragile little thing with the long legs that runs and hides whenever they're threatened. That was our menacing. Yeah.
Tell about your nickname.
Well, no one in Daytona, even right now, that would recognize me, family and all, would ever call me Carl. My nickname came from a little bug called a doodle bug, which I used to pick up and put in my pocket, and the little squishy things that smelled, and if you touched them too hard, they just split, and they smelled, and it oozed all kinds of bad stuff. I used to collect 5 or 10 at a time and put them in my pocket. And so Mom used to not like that, but I couldn't pronounce doodlebug, so I would say doon doon doo or something. And so they started calling me Dooney.
Yeah.
Dooney.
Dooney Nelson.
Yeah. So I had a successful career in baseball. At Seabreeze High School, because I could throw so many curveballs, and everybody could hit a fastball, but the percentage of hitting a curveball if you got a good one was pretty low, especially in high school. So I have, if you'll see up here, I've had several no-hitters when I was in high school, and at all the games I played and pitched, there was never anybody that got more than 4 hits on me. Not 4 runs, but 4 hits. Okay, then went to college, and those days there wasn't much scouting that went on because there wasn't a whole lot of scholarship to offer than the spring sports people. Football different. And so nobody knew me when I got there, as well as most of the boys who wanted to make the team. So if all the pitchers were told to get there Friday morning, and so there must have been 12, 15 of us there, and you got a chance to pitch against the regulars on the varsity team. Now the FSU varsity team had just won the national championship. Good team, okay? So I was watching these boys go out there, and some of them couldn't, get so frightened they couldn't get the ball over the plate. Some others of them did get the ball over the plate, but there's a loud thud and the ball's against the fence someplace. And so they were not invited back to pitch another inning. So if you look good enough, you got to pitch the second inning. So when my turn came, I struck out the side. And so they let me go out again. Mm. And so I struck out the first guy, and that guy popped up, and then I walked a guy, almost picked him off, and then I struck out another guy. And so I'm walking off the field, and this voice comes out of the other dugout. That was Coach Litweiler, he was the coach. And his voice said, "Who is he?" And his manager was in back of me, he says, "It's Dewey." I looked at who's Dewey. So that was my warm welcome to college baseball at Florida State. But in 1959 and 60, I pitched opening day, and so I had a fun career.
You got a scholarship, right?
Yes, it wasn't much. Dick Hauser, who was the captain of the Yankees several years later, only had books and tuition scholarships, and so that's all Florida State would allow. And in those days, all the athletes dressed in the same building, and on 3 or 4 lockers down from me was Burt Reynolds. Oh. And Vic Prinzi was there, and Lee Corso, who you see on television doing the ball games. We were all in the same bench there together. And Vic Prinzi had the car, so he was pretty important. And the other guy, the movie star, he attracted the girls. And then Vic Prinzi brought him around with the cars, and so those 3 guys were just the social envy of all the athletes. Okay, I should talk. Let's see. Talk about my coaching career a little bit. After college, I went back to my hometown of Daytona, and Mr. Welshinger, and that's a story. Mr. Welshinger was the man who brought my mom to deliver her first child at the hospital. That first child was me. When Mom had to go, it was an emergency, but nobody had a car. So Mr. Welshinger, who was living in the back and then the garage apartment, had an old beat-up car. He was the coach at Mainland High School. And so they said, go get Spike Welshinger. And so he came forth, picked up my mom, brought to the hospital. That was the result. 21 years later, I got home from college, and the phone rings, and Mom says, "Oh, well, Spike Welshinger wants to talk to you." And I'm thinking, what's this about? I hadn't even started to look for a job yet. And so he was on the phone, he says, "Come in, I got a job for you." So the same man who was there when I was born, this is the same man who gave me my first job. Wow. That's quite a coincidence.
That is a good story.
Yeah. Let's see. My first coaching job then was at Mainland High School, where he was the principal, and it was a big school. And we did well. The year before, the football coaches ran the baseball team, which is not good. So when I got there, I had a little reputation because I was only 4 or 5 years older than the seniors. And so they knew about me when I used to be at that same community as a player. Every now and then they see my picture in the paper or something. So they knew me. I had 95 boys come out for baseball. I couldn't, my heart wasn't in it to cut these guys. All they wanted to do is play. And so I said, well, let's give them 2 teams. So I got an A team and a B team. It turned out to be such a good idea that we won the championship 2 years in a row, because I read the rule book and it says you can transfer a boy from one B team to the A team if you give them 5 days notice or 5 days rest or whatever. And so I had like a farm system. And so if a guy was pitching well, I said, I need a pitcher, I'm going down and get that guy. I got the math teacher to be the coach. He didn't even know nothing about baseball, but he was a good bus driver. So I had really an advantage over everybody else, because if I whatever help I needed, I had. He was being trained at the same time, ready to go. When I was at Mainland, I sent a letter over to Rollins College, and I asked them if they needed an assistant, and I would do some for a fellowship, and I would do some teaching if they'd let me coach. And so Joe Justice was there. Joe is the brother of Choo Choo Charlie Justice, which is a North Carolina phenom. And so Joe was there, had been there for years, and he invited me to come over. So I was with Joe for a couple of years, until I wish I could tell you all the stories about him. He was a Christian Scientist, and he put me in charge of the first aid room. And I went in there the first day, and in one box they had a box of aspirin in it. That's all they had, and not even anything else to help the pitchers with their arms or ice or anything else. He didn't believe in medicine, so he put me in charge of the first aid room, and he says, "Go ahead and spend some money. Let's go like to college." And so I did. After, let's see, in my coaching career, I went from there to Edison Community College down in Fort Myers. And they needed a full-time coach. They were just getting the college started. And I did about the same I did at Rollins. I furnished the library with books, because they didn't have a PE department. I was the first PE teacher there. And I went to Edison, and they didn't even have a college campus. I taught my first class at the Episcopal Church. And so I had the wonderful opportunity to fill the library with books. Can you imagine somebody saying to you, take all the money you want, buy whatever book you want, fill the library, let's get going. So that happened to me at Edison Community College. And I was only there a short time. Edison Community College was the poorest paying community college in Florida. Luckily, my next college was the highest paying community college in Florida. While I was at Edison, we had 1,200 people. We had to play a conference with Broward, Manatee, Miami-Dade, West Palm Beach, all big schools. Miami had 55,000 people. And they had full scholarships. They recruited in the Caribbean, and we had to play them. Well, I chose not to play them. And in fact, I chose not to play a conference schedule, which allowed me to choose my opponents. And in choosing my opponents, we had a winning season. Now, the basketball coach wasn't that smart. He played a conference schedule. His record was 0-18. So it doesn't help to go 0-18. Because we won, I was able to do some recruiting based on the fact that we were a good scholastic institution. And so I did some better recruiting. But we played Miami-Dade. They had just won the national championship. They had about 3 or 4 All-America players on the team. And so I knew we were going to take a licking. So we had two pitchers. I said, well, I'm going to give them the first game. I'll pitch my worst pitcher against him. And he was okay. I mean, he didn't walk anybody, which is the big thing. And but the 7th inning, the ball was being hit all over the ballpark. But it was like 380 feet, but we had a center fielder that could run. He later played for Florida State. And he would run down the ball, he never dropped one. And his name was Jimmy Spooner, who later took my place as coach down there at Edison. So Jimmy caught everything in sight, and we found ourselves up 4-2 in the 7th inning. So I said to myself, this is as close as I'm ever gonna come to beat a national #1 team. So I brought in our best hit pitcher, and he did exactly what I was hoping he was gonna do. We ended up winning the ballgame. Now, if you can imagine this, Miami-Dade had 2 assistant baseball coaches. They had a trainer, an equipment manager, and 25 players. We had 13 players total. Nobody had scholarship. And happened to be just surprised Miami. For the next day, they came out ready to play. But I had Richard Gill was my pitcher. And Richard had his best game ever. Never seen him play that well. And we beat Miami again. About 3 years later, Denny Maneri, who was the coach, decided that he was going to retire. And he was looking for a replacement. And he said, well, who's that young kid that over in Fort Myers that beat us the other day? And somebody remembered my name, and so he says, get him over here. So I was invited to come and interview for the top job over in Miami. But so was the assistant coach at Florida State. And so it came down to the 2 of us, I think. And you're looking at the loser.